Hello, my name is Sam, and I'm a patriot. Why am I a patriot? Well, for many reasons. I love my country. I believe that this country was birthed by fighting men and fighting women who had to fight for their freedom. And so I think that a patriot is somebody who recognizes that sometimes you have to fight for your freedoms. And so, anyways, why am I a patriot? First of all, I love my country. Second of all, I believe that the way to keep our country free is to fight for it, to stand up for what we believe in, to stand up for our freedoms, to stand up for the republic that was penned by our founding fathers. You know, the reason this country came to be is because the tyranny in other nations led a group of people to this continent, where they set up colonies and eventually decided that the tyranny of an oppressive government was not what they wanted, and so they fought for their independence. And this is important to note. They fought for their independence. We need to fight to maintain our independence. This is why we've entered into wars. This is why we fought on our allies' behalf for their independence. So I just want to tell you that the two surefire ways to maintain our independence, and I know there's a big push in our nation to go and become a part of the one world government, umbrellaed under the UN, and just let a world council decide our law and dictate our policy. That was never good enough for us, and it never will be good enough for us. There are factions within our nation that would like to see that happen. I don't think they have the right motivations. I think they want it to happen so that they can be the ruling class in this nation, and they can put all the other classes to bed, basically, and the other classes won't be able to maintain any control, because their belief is that if they hand over the power of the United States to the global entity, that they will be placed as a governor, so to speak. Their ruling party will be placed as governors over our nation, and answering only to the global community. That, in fact, is a fallacy. It's a dream. We've seen that when the globalists take over, that they just take over. So we want to be Americans. We want to stay Americans, and we don't want to be a part of someone else's laws and stuff. We want to dictate our own law. We have a constitution. I believe in our constitution, and I think our constitution is the best constitution on the planet. It's the best rule of law on the planet. Our Bill of Rights is second to none. We need to maintain those things, and the best way to maintain those things is through keeping our populace armed and keeping the Second Amendment live and well. The Second Amendment is not about you owning a gun. The Second Amendment is about the populace being armed, so if the government ever becomes tyrannical, that they can dispose that government and replace it with the correct government, the government that is intended, a government of a republic. We are not a democracy. We are a republic. Our elected officials are not our leaders. They are representatives. We don't elect them to lead us. We elect them to represent us. There's a vast difference. And a lot of these people think that they have been elected to become our leaders. That is not the truth. They have been elected as our employees to represent us in our regions, our states, and our areas in our states. So they are not our leaders. Get that out of your mind. That's one of the biggest fallacies. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to see that, because it's a lie. It's propagated by those in Washington. It's just not the truth. They are not our leaders. Our leaders are those in the church, the spiritual leader placed there by God. That is our leaders. Our representatives are those we elect to go and work on policy. They should be consulting their people in their district or in their state, wherever they are representing. Their policy should be the people's policy. It should not be their own. And that's the problem with a lot of Washington bureaucrats, is that they actually go up there, get elected, and start voting their conscience and their opinion. I'm sorry, I don't elect people to go and enforce their opinion or put their opinion into law. That's not what they're just one vote in the district. They're just one vote in the state. If their opinion is different from what their constituents' opinions is, well, they should base their job on what their constituents' opinions are. So if 6 out of 10 people do not want a law to come into being, well, then that representative, senator, should vote accordingly to what the constituents want. I'm telling you, this is what needs to be happening. And if your representative is not representing you, then they need to be fired, and we need to make a way for that to happen. We just had I call it treasonous activity done by 2 posers that ran as Republicans up around the Kansas City area, and they ran as Republicans, and shortly after being elected, defected to the Democratic Party. And I am sure, beyond a shadow of doubt, those people who have elected them feel like they have been they've been cheated. They cast their vote as a Republican or as a Democrat. They cast their vote, and they cast their vote for that person, not based on just who the person is, but based on their stance, based on their platform and their association to a party. And so the votes were cast, and these people posing as a Democrat, or they posed as a Republican, were actually Democrats. And this is if you want to talk about election fraud, that's where you need to start. And you need to start with a civil case where the citizens of the state sue to have them removed, and also need to sue for a special election to be called, because this is obvious that these 2 persons defected, and it was a plan all along. This wasn't just something that happened. They ran on a Republican ticket, and then as soon as they were elected in a district that was suspected to be won by the Republicans, they switched. This is the underhanded political junk that is happening in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is the biggest crime syndicate in the United States. It's responsible for all kinds of legal activity, but they're the first ones to point the fingers when a Republican does something in the gray area. So I'm telling you right now, the Democratic Party is not patriotic, and I think they ought to be shut down. I think the Democratic Party is the worst thing that has happened to America in the last 20 years. I know there's a segment of population that reinforces their platform, but as I look at that segment of population, I see that segment of population is also the segment of population that is far from God, that is immoral and embraces immorality, and embraces things like gay marriage and things like abortion, which I'm going to tell you, I don't believe in those. That's my personal opinion, but I don't enforce my personal opinion on anybody else. You have your right to believe what you want, but let me take it to the final verdict. It's against the Word of God. The Word of God is against homosexuality. It's a sin, clearly, and it's against abortion. So it is killing a life, and if you take a life, then you're guilty of murder. If you choose to murder somebody, whether that somebody is in your womb or that somebody is driving in a car in your neighborhood and you pull a trigger and kill them, it's no different to me. If you choose to go to an abortion clinic and have an abortion, That's premeditated murder. So I just want you to know and understand that being a patriot means you got to embrace the republic, embrace the nation, and stand up for what's right, and be willing to fight for what is right. That's all.